Welcome everybody here to our next webinar. A warm welcome in the name of JFD Bank as well. My name is Stefan Friedrichowski, as always, for those webinars, and it's a pleasure for me to have you all here. It looks once again quite international, as I can see the names, or at least what I read out of the names. But anyhow, it's at least the names are international. Let's say it that way. But anyhow, it's really good to have you all here. Today is the 19th of September 2019, 7 o'clock, at least in Germany. Wherever you are, you might have, of course, a different time. Today's topic is Renko charts. And honestly, the next sentence in my title is already everything which is really of matter here. A price-based change of perspective. Because that is what finally Renko charts are, and you will learn about those Renko charts. And it's a real quite cool thing, because from my point of view, anything around technical analysis with charts is much easier if you go for Renko charts. A lot of things become much more obvious, and just by a different kind of charting style. So, normally we talk about trading statistics, we talk about mathematics, something like that, formulas, deriving trading strategies, and today it's about charts. It's a little bit strange when it comes to Stefan. And you know that I'm always a little bit skeptical all around charts, but when it comes to Renko charts, I change my mind a little bit, and you will learn what Renko charts are and how to use them. Anyhow, I forgot something. I forgot already to upload the slides I will do during I speak, because as always, you can find the slides of today's webinar for download in the GoToWebinar control panel. And if you have interest in my Excel sheets, which I will show later, and even today we have Excel sheets, just send me an email, drop me a note to s.friedrichowski@jfdbank.com. That's quite easy. Before I finally start, the procedure. I have to show up once, at least during a webinar, the so-called risk disclaimer. What's really about here? We talk about trading, we talk about trading strategies, but finally, when it comes to your trading, of course, you do everything on your own and your own responsibility. I think that's quite self-explaining, but it has to be mentioned at least once during any webinar. A little bit more in detail what today's webinar is about. Of course, we should start with the Renko chart as it is. Right away, we go into that, and I can explain and give you some more motivation directly out of the charts. And since I'm a physician and I like clear definitions, we will really define what Renko charts and Renko bricks, because that's all about Renko bricks, we will define. And indeed, that really helps to understand Renko charts later as well, because there are some details you should know, and there are some, let's call them obstacles, when it comes to Renko charts within MT4. That has to do with how Renko charts are defined and what indicators which we will use in order to get Renko charts in MT4, what they use, and that's a little bit different. Therefore, there are some differences. And finally, we talk about useful settings for Renko charts, because there is one setting, just one, but it's similar than with standard charts, candlestick charts. There you have to decide, should I go for a D1, a daily based chart, or an H1, hourly based? And here it will be the brick size. And it's a little bit similar, but totally different. And then I finally come up with some proposals of how to trade with Renko charts and what you have to know about that. But now let's jump into a Renko chart. And on the slide, you have a Renko chart. And of course, you cannot read the time scale on the x-axis. And that's good, because Renko charts don't have a time scale, a real one, or not a time scale which really matters. And if you and although you could read it, it might mislead you, because Renko charts are price-based. Everything which counts are those bricks, those small candles within the chart. And what you can see here is, okay, there are blue and red bricks or candles, and nothing else. Honestly, the chart is a euro, Canadian dollar, and I wrote down with a brick size of 1 bip. Okay, that's an important information. The size of each brick here is exactly 1 bip. That's interesting. So all the candles, all the bricks are here exactly 1 candle. And you may think, hey, but there might be a huge candle going up 10 bips in a standard candlestick chart. Okay, if that's the case, that would translate for a Renko chart in 10 blue bricks, because we have in total movement 10 bips upwards. And that's what you see here. So all you see is the price move. On what time scale that happens doesn't matter. And if I look to my trades, what matters more, price or time? Of course, it's the price and not the time. Only if it comes to long-lasting trades, and we may think about swap costs. But normally, I place a trade, I have a stop loss, and I have to take profit. And what matters is how do I reach that, and is it possible to reach that within a suitable time? And here we have, because we have everything in bricks, we know what kind of movements are possible. Ups and downs, ups and downs. And even if you look to the structure or the microstructure of the chart, all the movements are much more obvious now. We don't have to interpret a chart, long-lasting interpretation. No, those 1, 2, 3 movements are really obvious in those charts. That makes Renko charts quite interesting. So that's one example of a Renko chart in the Forex market. And now I have another Renko chart here, and I have even 2 pictures. Now it's a picture of the DAX and the brick size, because whenever you see a Renko chart, you have to ask, hey, what's the size of a brick? Because you can't see it, or the y-axis, at least in this chart, is not visible. But anyhow, so that's the typical question you have to ask. Hey, what's the size of a brick? And in this case, it's 5 points for the DAX. And I know what always happens when people look first on Renko charts. Everybody tries to find the same patterns within the standard chart, which is above here, and the Renko chart below. And the same pattern or the same time point in time. That's always that people are looking, try to figure out, hey, okay, I have this kind of zigzag movement here, and where can I find the same movement in the standard chart? And honestly, that question doesn't matter. And it's important to get that kind of question out of your head. I have illustrated the 2 points which I really can connect within that chart. And you see that arrow here showing, okay, that point is this one. And you may ask, hey, and what's about the rest here? Yeah, that's before. So in total, the history of the Renko chart is longer. There's no time-wise one-to-one translation. Of course, we can, all the highs and lows we will find more or less in the Renko chart as well. But it doesn't matter that this peak is maybe that one here, and this peak is now this one. The structure is what really matters and what is important. And just look to the standard chart and try to illustrate for your own what is the structure of that chart. That will be a hard job to interpret here exactly that chart. The below chart, the Renko chart, is definitely much easier. You see exactly the kind of movement in the standard chart. It's really a tough job. So let's define Renko charts or where it comes from. As a candlestick charts, they stem from Japan as well. And the Japanese word Renga, which is the origin of Renko charts, Renga means bricks or brick. And that's all what we have to know. The other thing we need to know is that all charts, whatever chart you are looking for, candlestick chart, Heikin Yashin charts, or in this case Renko charts, all charts are based originally on tick charts or tick data. And a tick is simply a trade. But maybe not your own trade. Any trade is a tick. And that tick generates a price with a timestamp. And that's all what's really important. So the base of everything are tick charts. Same is true for candlestick charts and for Renko charts. And it's important to have that in mind anytime. Now, if we go for candlestick charts, then a candlestick chart is nothing else than just a representation of a time unit by 4 numbers: open, high, low, and close. So what we're doing, or MT4 is doing to make for us visible an H1 candle, okay, that's quite easy. We look, let's say, for the candle at 2 p.m. Then we look for all the ticks between 2 and 3 p.m. The first one within that time interval is the open. The last one is the close. The highest price is a high and the lowest price is a low. Hey, that's an H1 candle. That's all what is an H1 candle. You don't know when that high or when that low has been, but at least you know the price. So from a more mathematical point of view, a candlestick chart is something like you zip a file, you compress data, because you may have 20,000 ticks, and now you transfer those 20,000 ticks in 4 numbers. That's a huge compression level, but that's good to have that in mind. It's nothing else than just represent the 1 hour 60,000 or 40,000 or whatever number ticks into 4 numbers. So it's data reduction, but with a loss, because we lose details. But that's okay if you know that. Renko charts, on the other hand, are a little bit similar, but the only thing which matters here is the price itself. So wherever we start and we set a brick size of 2 bips, then we have to wait to draw that candle until we first have either a movement to the upside of brick size, let's say 2 bips, or to the downside, 2 bips. And finally, if a new tick hits that distance to the up or to the low, upwards or downside, then we have a new brick, and that's all. So if the price move has exceeded a certain threshold, then we have a new candle or a new brick. So candlestick charts are time-based and Renko charts are price-based. Honestly, yes, both matters. But if I have to vote for one, then I would always go for the price and not for the time. Because we talk about trading and the price move is always more important than the time move. Sorry for that. Maybe I have to mute my microphone for a second. So here I'm back again. And I want to illustrate that, how to generate a Renko chart by your own or the Renko data. And as I mentioned, we need to have price data on a tick-based level, because it's the only thing you can take in order to have real Renko charts. You need tick data. So two possibilities I will show you here how to get tick data. And later you will see we do the same just by indicators in MT4 directly. So you don't have to do it really, but I want to show you at least once the procedure, because you can learn a little bit more about Renko charts just with that Excel sheet. So one possibility is to get tick data at Dukascopy. You can get their M1, D1, H1 data as well, but also ticks. And the other one is an automated process with a Python script. I will not go into the details, but I know that some people will like it to see that this is possible as well. I admit already that there are some bugs within what I show you, but at least for the tick data download, it's really suitable. That I can tell you. It's not from my end. I have not coded those Python scripts, but I will show you how to use them. So one possibility is simply that we go for Dukascopy here, and all we would have to do here is we go for tick data, and then you see you can always only download one day simultaneously, and you can choose a date and then pressing download, and then you have them. But you would have to do that job day by day. So that's the one possibility. The other one is quite cool, and you have seen already the link within my slides. It's going here to GitHub, and then you can read that if you are interested in Python scripts, how to download and how to use. It's quite easy, and I will at least demonstrate that kind of process, and I can show you that within my terminal window here. And all I have to do is to have to type, for example, Duca Euro US dollar means I want to download Euro US dollar. Then for whatever reason minus T one, and then it's just the start date from when onwards I want to have the data. I can use an end date as well. And now it's downloading Monday, Tuesday, and yesterday, Wednesday. And that is all. And then I have the data. Just that you know, it's quite easy to do that. And then you have those tick datas. We will go now for already downloaded tick datas from one day. In this case, it's Monday. I will show you how to create out of tick datas a Renko chart or Renko data. The good thing, finally, you don't have to do that kind of job. And the other good thing is you can learn a little bit about the characteristics of Renko charts itself. And what you see here already is you see, okay, there's a timestamp of the data, an ask price, a bid price, and then already the created Renko ones. But let me show you what's here. So you have to start. So I start with what I have, and I only go here for bit levels. And then the only thing I wait here is until the current price is at least away the brick size level. That's all I ask. And in case yes, I will write a new number here. And later you will see, indeed it happens. That's the way you create those brick levels. But now let me show you already a few more things here within the two charts within the Excel sheet. The lower end of my Excel sheet, or the lower chart, that is a real tick chart versus time. In the upper chart, I have plotted the Renko levels, indeed here versus time, which we later learn is not the right thing. We just draw them as they are, not versus time. And you see here I have a brick size level of 2 bips, and in total I have here a counter. We get for one day, in this case, 266 candles. Hey, that's a quite huge compression as well. This Excel sheet here has close to 90,000 ticks, which is about 1 tick per second roundabout. And with a brick size of 2 bips, we can reduce the number of data to 266. That's good to know that we have a quite huge compression here as well. So that's another interesting thing about Renko charts, but same is true for candlesticks charts as well, because we can use that as a reduction of data. And you see exactly what happens here in the beginning of the first 6 hours of the day. You don't see much moves. Of course, it's the night. And exactly that is one reason for going for for Renko charts. We can reduce noise, and those boring periods within the day will be reduced to a few candles. That's good if we have that kind of reduction, because if nothing happens, hey, why should I look to a more or less horizontal line? I agree. Right now we have in my chart still a quite horizontal line, but that will be reduced in the next step. Let me increase the brick size level, because then you can see we get that kind of smoothing of the graph, and that's another really good thing. Any chart smoothes by its own just by going for higher brick levels. Now we are at 4 bips for a brick, and already we only have close to 80 candles anymore. So you can see the kind of reduction which happens here. Finally, if I want to plot that chart correctly as a Renko chart, let me take the data and go to a new sheet here, and then paste it here. It's only taking me a few steps, and then you will see exactly what I would like to achieve. We have to sort the data a long time, and now we have all the real bricks, and then we can plot them, and that what comes now is a real Renko chart, but illustrated as lines, not as bricks, but that's a reduced chart. And now we have that clear structure again. Okay, maybe the Monday was not the best example, because on Monday this week, the first couple of hours, nothing happened. The last couple of hours, nothing happened. And in between was more or less a move to the south. But that kind of structure is much better and much more informative than looking to a standard chart. So that's a cool thing about Renko charts. And now you see exactly what it means going with brick sizes. And the only thing is how big that move should be in order to draw a new candle. And that's easy. That's good to know. Of course, we want to see Renko charts, as in my introduction part, directly in the MT4. And it's quite easy to do that. I will show you in a minute two indicators. One is called Renko underscore charts, and that's exactly the search pattern you might use for Google. Maybe you write Renko charts, Renko underscore charts, MT4, and then you will find that indicator in the web as well. That one is really easy to use. I mentioned here already, here the brick size is given in points, not in bips. What does it mean, points? In this case, it's always the last digits. So, for example, euro, US dollar, we have 5 digits after the comma, and the last digit is 1, 2, 3, and the second last digit would be 10, 20, and so on. In this case, for DAX, the meaning of point is really different because 1 point in the language of that indicator is a 0.01 move. That's 1 point. So we need 100 points if we want to have what I would call a point, 1 point in the real chart. The disadvantage of that indicator is that you still have a time axis, and that one is wrong. But once again, the time axis is anyhow totally meaningless, and you even don't have to care. We want to look for price movement and nothing else. So in principle, yeah, it's still in the chart, but it's not the right one. So don't be misled by that axis. The other indicator is called Renko live chart underscore V600 underscore Indi. And that one is a quite tricky one because you throw it on a standard chart, but then that indicator creates a so-called offline chart. And that one you have to open. And now for that indicator, the brick size is given in bips, okay? But the other advantage, because we get a new real chart, and now the time axis is at least correctly labeled, but as I told you, time axis doesn't matter really. The other good thing here is that you can use standard indicators within the chart as well. So you can take that Renko chart and use EMAs, use RSI, use whatever. So you can use the standard set of indicators for your analysis within that offline chart. Now that's really cool. Normally, and that's true for all kind of indicator-like generation process of Renko charts in MT4, you run those on M1 charts. As I mentioned, the real source for a Renko chart would be tick data. And if you use the second one here, from the moment you throw that on the chart, then the offline chart is indeed actualized correctly, but all the history is generated out of M1 chart, M1 candles, and that's not really correct. Think about an M1 candle, a huge doji-like M1 candle, close and open, more or less same level, but in between we have a jump, 10 bips upwards and 10 bips to the south. Then all the tools here would not generate any bricks, which is not correct because we know the price has been up and down. Therefore, always go for the lowest time frame and possible, and then have that in mind. Honestly, that only matters if you have small brick sizes. If you have a brick size of a few bips, then the number of mistakes in the charts are really quite rare. So if you want to have longer history within that chart, sometimes you have to go to M5 or even M15 chart. because otherwise the history is not long enough. You will see that, and you will see it now. Let's go practical here directly into how to generate a Renko chart. So of course I have my indicators already up and running here um, on the navigator, and maybe let's go for euro, New Zealand dollar, and let me get rid of the ATR within my chart here, and then we can use that one for generating Renko charts. So all we have to do is we throw the indicator on the chart as always. But now a few tricky things. Please don't forget to allow import of DLLs. If you forget that, the indicator will not work. And the other thing, in this case, it doesn't matter, use the chart M1. I forgot that, I will change it afterwards. So let's go back for M1 because that's where you should start always. And here we are. And then what I would always recommend, don't try to get the corresponding points within the two charts. Just do the following. And then you are exactly here. In this case, the brick size is 40 points, which is 4 bips. And once again, isn't that chart really brilliant? Everything is much more obvious. Resistant lines, support lines. It's really easy to draw those lines. And all the movements, which typically are called 1, 2, 3 movements, hey, they can be labeled here quite easy. That is really good. So that's the one indicator. And here, indeed, you can change to other time frames. And finally, if you wait, then now those should not be that too different, but it's okay. So start with M1. If you go there, that's a perfect hit. The other one we can throw here as well. So here it's really important. If you are not on M1, you will get an error. You have to import to allow import of DLLs, otherwise the indicator is not working. And now we have here the possibility to enter the Renko box size. And you get already an indication that there will be an offline chart under the name 7. It's not really a 7-minute time frame. It's only giving the name 7. Okay, pressing yes, and we are here. And where's the chart? The chart is here. There are the offline charts. And now we have to go to look for euro, New Zealand dollar, M7 that was indicated in the indicator. And that's the one we have to open. And here we are. We have our Renko chart. This one is really a Renko chart. You will see in a second. And here we are. And as you can see, I try to illustrate that a little bit here. They look pretty much the same. Because I use the same brick size, they are based on the same data source, and therefore they should indeed look the same. Now, the x-axis here is indeed correct. So the time axis is not anymore equidistant. It's labeled correctly. But anyhow, it doesn't matter. We need to have a look to the moves and nothing else. And that's what Renko charts are about. Price moves. That's what really counts. So that's how you generate those kind of charts. It's easy to do. And you can, in this case, you can even go for an indicator like in moving average and put that one here as well, or any other indicator. So that might help you in your own chart analysis. That's the way you can generate. I will show you another good example in a few minutes. There's always one question when it comes to Renko charts. What is a useful, what is a suitable brick size? Because that number we have to press into any indicator. So that's a good question. And there's no holy grail answer on that. But here are three variants you might go for. And there's one favorite. That's the one I go for. Of course, you can use the fixed number in bips. Like you always go for 5 bip brick size. So then all your charts will be 5 bricks, 5 bips bricks. Of course, you can do that. Other people do something different. They use an ATR from a higher time frame. Let's even go for a D1 time frame. Let's look for the ATR. And maybe the ATR on that time frame is, I don't know, 30 bips. And then we say, okay, we always go for 1/10 of the daily ATR. The good thing, if you do that, then you imply the volatility into your Renko chart. The downside is you have to do that every day with a different brick size. But it's not that bad idea to have the overall volatility within your chart itself. My favorite is different. My favorite is use euro-based brick sizes. That sounds strange, but it's a little bit more from a trading perspective. If I think about my own trades, okay, I have a typical trading volume. So the lot size of any trade. Let's assume that is 0.01, nothing else. And for DAX, I would trade 0.1 because that is a minimum lot size for DAX. So we have a typical lot size because that lot size we will use later for trades as well. Maybe you have different one, 0.02, 0.1, even 1 lot, 10 lot, whatever. But now let's go for our typical trading volume. Let's go for a typical euro value, which is good for us, for our trades. And for example, for those minimum volume trades, a 1 euro size might be a good idea. So to think about, okay, I want to place my stop loss with 1 euro, 2 euros, maybe it was 8 euros. That would translate simply in 8 bricks. So I can do that directly in the chart. Hey, that's cool. We don't have to do later any more calculations when we move our stop loss or when we place our stop loss. We just have to count bricks, which is quite easy. So to have the brick size in euro, that has even another big advantage. And the other big advantage is you can compare different symbols. That's always tricky. Think about you have a chart with euro US dollar and a chart with a euro Japanese yen. Okay, that's already, the numbers are totally different. Yens are 100 something, euro US dollar 1 point something. How to really compare the two charts, because they are always auto-scaled. So you really cannot translate directly any move in the one chart to the other chart. If each candle has a defined size in euros, then that kind of comparison is really easy because it's just counting bricks, and that's an easy job. So different symbols, they get much more comparable to each other. So we can really look from the one to the other and see where do I have the real bigger advantage in euros. Because finally what counts is euros or US dollar or Swiss franc, but the currency, and not some candles in within the chart. So that's good to use euro-based brick sizes. If you need, let's say, some help to translate price moves into those values which are important um, for the indicators, like given me points or in bips, I've created quite a small Excel sheet where you can put the numbers in, like lot size or euro value, and then even if you want to trade US dollar, Japanese yen, what you need to know is the exchange rate euro Japanese yen. At least if your account is in euro, then this is what really matters for you. So we need that exchange rate, and then we get the values in points for the one indicator, or in bips for the other indicator, or if the pure price difference, it's the first number here. So that is a nice tool to translate euro numbers with typical lot sizes of your own trading into suitable brick sizes. And then we can create a really quite cool chart. Let me illustrate that. And I have prepared that chart already. It's not a single chart, it's a portfolio of charts. And I have created a Renko profile. And within that Renko profile, we have all our trades, all our charts now in Renko behavior. And since I mentioned the standard chart is not important, we have to focus ourselves just on the Renkos and nothing else. And then this is a new picture. I have done here already that kind of step, that I use the right brick sizes for any symbol. So, for example, Euro, British pound, now the brick size is 89 points, whereas for Euro, Japanese yen, the brick size is 120 points. But all the bricks here are now €1 level. So if you think about a trade, let's say we want to place an order here on that level, and maybe we want to trade a breakout scenario or something like that, and we want to place stop loss somewhere here. Okay, then we know exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is €10. So the trade would have a risk if you trade that with 0.01 lot with exactly €10 stop loss level. Hey, we can see that now within the chart. And if you have other favorite numbers for typical stop losses for given lot sizes, you can change the brick sizes, and then you have that number within the chart. And then you might say, okay, no, €10 for that trade, that's too much for me. Whatever. You might use different numbers. And then you would say, okay, no, that kind of breakout trade, I don't want to go for that. I will wait for another opportunities. So that's a cool aspect of how to use Renko charts, because they are now inherently scaled, because every brick here, if you use a setting like translate a €1 into bips for a typical lot size, then you have all the charts in the same scale. And that's really good. Good to know. So that's my favorite when it comes to Renko charts. But still, we have one open question, and that is how to trade them. And let me guide you a little bit through. I mentioned a complete website here later where you can find hundreds of additional tips of how to trade Renko charts. But let's really start from the very beginning. What you might do first, like with other charts, is you do a standard chart analysis. You might look for support and resistance lines. And the good thing is, they are much more obvious. in those charts. I will illustrate again in the chart in a minute. You will see that trends become more clear. And those tools you might use for your standard technical analysis, like 1, 2, 3 movements, even those, they really are obvious directly in the chart. You can see and use it for breakout strategies, or you do this more or less opposite reversal strategies. And you will find other good ideas here on the website if you like. One remark here already when it comes to stop loss placement, and I will redo the same I have already done in the chart a minute ago, once again to emphasize that attention here. We want to place a stop loss, then think about, because of the nature of bricks, even if there is if you want to place a stop loss, it's always +1 brick. Keep that in mind, because there might have been prices already a little bit below a brick, but not below enough to create a new brick. I will go back to my chart, and you see, I would not place a stop loss directly here at that level, because at least in the past, there might have been already prices a little bit below, but not below enough to create a new red brick there. So I would place the stop loss level always +1 brick. And that would be here. But now let's think about, we're doing chart analysis. Let me enlarge this one here. And now you see the structure of a trend, and you see my mouse movement becomes extremely obvious. That was a really good downtrend in zigzag moves, almost like in a textbook. Okay, a few small deviations, but that's the cool thing, that you can see those trends directly into the chart, and you can directly see the trend reversal within the chart as well. Renko charts are really trend behavior charts. They really make it quite obvious. So that's seeing the trends within the chart is really easy. And you may see now here, what a wonderful trend to the south in euro, British pound. That's really a wonderful scenario. You might use that chart and say, okay, I want to wait for a pushback to that level. Then I would place a sell limit order at that point, and I could use a stop loss here, 1 brick plus, which would be here. And I see already, okay, okay, that's 7 bricks. So €7 stop loss distance for a 0.01 trade. All those things you see directly. And that's the cool thing about Renko charts. It makes things much easier than with standard charts. Good. I hope I get you a little bit curious about Renko charts, because that is already bringing me to my summary. What you have always to keep in mind, Renko charts are price-based. Price movements is the only thing which matters and counts when it comes to Renko charts. Candlestick charts are time-based. They reduce 1 hour to 4 numbers, open, high, low, close, and illustrate those 4 numbers in a candle. Renko charts illustrate everything with price moves, with bricks, in this case up and down bricks. If you have that kind of chart, then you can do a chart analysis much easier. It's really getting easy. That's cool. All the noise and extremely trendless phases, they simply vanish, because if you have, for example, a brick size of 5 pips, they will be condensed to one brick, and all the small ups and downs you will not see anymore because there's no new candle. But I have to admit, you have to get used to those charts. I repeat myself. I know that everybody is doing the same when it comes first to Renko charts, trying to find the correlation, the correspondent highs and lows in the normal chart and the Renko chart. That's a bad idea to look for those. Just concentrate on the chart itself and do your analysis. And don't try to find the corresponding points within the standard chart. That's not the idea of Renko charts, to compare them with the standard charts. It's the idea to get a clear and structured view on trend behavior, resistance lines, support lines, and that's what's good about Renko charts, because it's that easy and that obvious. If you have any further questions or any question at all, still use the opportunity to drop me a line at s.friedrichowski@jfdbank.com. Of course, I will help you out as far as I can. And if you have interest in any slides or forgotten to download here, no problem. Just send me a note, and even the Excel sheets you can have. And if you don't find the Renko indicators in the internet, I will make sure that you get them as well. That's for now. I hope you see you again in October for the next webinar. I still don't know exactly the topic where we'll have in October, but let's see. I will find a good one, be sure. And have a good time, have a good evening, and a good rest of that week here. Bye-bye, and see you again.